What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the ABC Trainerize YouTube channel. My name is Nate, and I'm here to talk to you about how to use AI and specifically ChatGPT to boost your personal training business. Now, as a hybrid coach myself, I've tested out 3 different pre-made GPTs that I think you're really going to find useful, and I've tested them out, and I'm going to walk you through how I did that to improve nutrition, training, and business management. So let's dive in.
All right, first up, we have the Personal Trainer GPT by evergym.co. Who would have thought that it would be named that? Now, I wanted to have some help training a new client. So I typed in, how can you help me with a new client I'm training? It's always helpful when starting with GPTs to establish what they can help you with, what they recommend asking, and what kind of prompts they're good with so you get the most out of them. So right away, ask for a background, really helpful. I just made up a fake client here to give you an idea. 35-year-old female, intermediate level, some herniated discs. So basically, the ideal client for me is typically someone who works a desk job, who has a history of injury, but used to be athletic and wants to get back to things. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for here. So the really cool part here is that you can start to map out your high-level periodization strategy using this GPT. So usually you're going to start with a phase of foundation, 3 months, lays out based on her favorite activities and what her typical schedule is like, her availability, lays it out for you really clean. Then I asked her to build out a really simple plan, or at least a starting point for me to work off. Something I learned from Strength Faction years ago was to never start writing a program with a blank script. Always start by taking somebody else's program and just modifying it, because it makes the creative juices flow a little bit easier and just saves you a ton of time. So it's really helpful for giving you that first iteration. And then I asked it for a daily mobility routine to help my client with rehab, maybe taking some of those physio exercises that they've been recommended. And it comes up with this really clean plan with instructions, which I really like. You've got some basic stuff like dead bugs, breathing, hip mobility, really clean. And then I wanted it to come up with some easy check-in messages that I could add into ABC Trainerize so that there's always that touch point, that accountability pre-made, and something that's gonna make it feel like it's personal too. And you're gonna love this. So you've got some really clean messages here. Already has your name, client name. You could even put that in, make it specific to your client. And then it could do some really positive tone. So you can ask it to be a little bit more professional, a little bit more fun, and make it a little more human. So you can play around with this and keep iterating until you find something that you really like. And then after that, the last thing I asked to do would be, what are some common ways that personal trainers use you? So as I said, go back to the beginning. If you really want to get the most out of this GPT, just ask it what it's good for. So it gave me a list of things like customized workout plans, nutrition guidance, motivational support, content, injury prevention, group training programs. I thought that was interesting, and resource recommendations. So that's actually something really cool where you could go scour the internet and find things that are specific to your client's needs. So based on that, I wanted to have a little bit more insight in how to set up a progress tracking system, because a lot of coaches are really good at coaching, but the actual act of online training is a little bit more difficult to set up. So I came up with this great step-by-step system that we would already do in person, and then gave some examples of things that you might measure for KPIs, key performance indicators. What are some questions you can ask them around goals? How are you going to run your weekly check-ins? What are the monthly check-ins going to look like, and how are you going to course correct? What other tools and wearables can you ask or advise your client to use? And then some other things around feedback and adjustments. So I really like that you've got some sort of template, some sort of standardized procedure that you can just pull from. If this is new to you as an online coach, or even if you have a system in place, it's just good to remind yourself what are some typical things that you should be doing to make sure clients get results over time. And then the last thing I tested out was just thinking about structure and scripts for calls. Like obviously when you're with a person and you're training with them in person, it's a lot easier to do these kinds of check-ins. But with online, communication is really the key to success. And in order for you to get that clear communication, you have to have some sort of standardized procedure that ensures you're getting the most out of those conversations. So I really like this. It's got building rapport, reviewing the last month, course correcting, setting an action plan, and then some motivational interviewing tips as well, which is something that maybe not everybody's familiar with. So you can get really creative with the kind of questions you ask it here, but just make sure that you have some sort of standardized procedure and use this GPT to come up with that document it in some sort of standard operating procedure, and make sure that you have something really clear in case you build your team. And then finally, I asked it to help me with time management. So knowing what my typical schedule is like, how much availability I have. It gave me some ideal setups in terms of my daily schedule, because that's another thing that I personally struggle with, is just making sure that I'm on top of both my business and my coaching at the same time. It's really clean here. It gives you some ideas. So hopefully that's helpful in terms of the personal trainer GPT. Next, we're going to jump to nutrition. So the next GPT that I recommend you find is the Diet and Nutrition Expert by AI Research Plus. So I found this one really interesting, both personally and professionally. So I'm going to scroll to the top here. Now, whether your clients want to lose weight, gain muscle, or just eat healthier, this GPT has pretty much everything you could ever want from the perspective of macros, grocery lists, ideas for recipes, really anything that you want to give them as a resource. This is a really helpful GPT. So what I did here is I first asked it to build a base model. So what I wanted to do is give it an idea of what my typical eating style is, what my typical goals are, and then give it some context, and then ask it to get creative with how it's going to present me different meals. So first thing I did was ask again, what are the things that it needs to know for it to be really useful? Always start with its strengths and what it's pre-programmed to do. Gave it some idea of the types of things I typically eat, and then spit out a 5-day paleo meal plan for me. Now, very basic: breakfast, lunch, shake, dinner, no macros, just very basic idea of what to eat. And to be honest, this is kind of what I'm already doing for the most part. So it's very reassuring to know that it is on track with what somebody as a personal trainer is doing. Next, I asked it to include the macros for each meal. So if you want to give your clients an idea of what they're eating, perfect. But of course, this is a little bit too high level, right? If somebody's just starting out, they need to know more. So what I thought is, okay, let's get the shopping list in there. And you can even ask it to make a table, which is really awesome. And then you can save that table, export it as a PDF, and send it to your client. And then I actually wanted it to give me specific quantities so that I can buy the right amounts and make the appropriate amounts to hit those macros. So it actually broke it down by protein, vegetables, fruits, dairy, pantry, and gave me an exact shopping list to go with and the exact amounts, which I thought was really cool. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and use this as my base moving forward. Now I've got the base, now I wanna get the macros consistent, and then I can download that meal plan and send it to somebody. So like I said, the idea is to start with a base, start to save these and ask it to save these for each of your clients. And that way you have then something that you can course correct and modify with your client, and maybe share with your client so they can use the same thing and do this on their own. Really, there's no end in sight to what you could do with this GPT, but the idea should be that you can use it to give them something very simple, something very actionable, so that they can actually build out a list and then give them a resource to take home. All right, last but not least is the Business Consultant by AI Research Plus, another good one here. So what I did is I wanted it to give me some ideas of how to run my business better. Now, I've been transitioning from working in the business, which is most often where we spend our time coaching, training, but it's really hard to transition to a business owner, especially if you're doing online coaching, and to learn how to manage your time and spend time developing your business as well. So that's where this one might help you out. So this guy's like having a business coach, and you can actually ask it to be very specific to the type of business you have. So I said, consult for me as a personal trainer who is starting online but doesn't really know how to get clients. What questions can I ask you? Again, starting with its strength. And Jamie seems to be the name of all of their AI Research Plus GPTs. So they asked a lot of great questions around what's my experience, who am I trying to work with, target audience, what am I actually doing to attract clients so far. So what I recommend really is to ask the right questions, and then it asks me to niche down. It asked me to get clear on my value proposition for that specific niche. It asked or helped me create a basic business plan. And actually later on in this list, I asked it to help me create a specific business plan. So something that's a document that will be my guiding posts in terms of my company vision. Then you can even ask it for help with pricing and how you're going to go about presenting your offers. So I like that it gave me some ideas of what other coaches are charging for subscriptions versus one-on-one sessions. Here's the business plan I was talking about. So really clean, simple way to organize your thoughts and organize how you're going to go about growing your business. Then it also gave me some ideas of some market leaders so I can model after some other coaches. And I believe 23W is actually, one of our main clients at ABC Trainerize. So check out Ange and team there. And then how am I actually going to build up my business plan? So again, coming back to your value proposition, how do you build your online presence, develop your offerings? All of these things are things that you need to think through as you continue to grow your business rather than working in the business. I also liked some of these tools around marketing. So I wanted to go a little bit more specific into how to grow my online presence and how to really differentiate myself. So you can think about things like SEO, content strategy, email strategy, social media, which we all know we have to do, how to grow your partnerships, get referrals. There's so much here, and you can really ask it to expand on any of these points and really give you a detailed strategy on how to do it. So make sure you take the time to engage with it and find as much as you can. And then lastly, I was thinking even about client experience too, which is the other main area that a lot of us are focused on in terms of retention, making sure that we get referrals. So thinking about externally, what are some points that you need to really build out, like your content strategy, your personalized communication strategy, and again, using these tools like AI to come up with a set of messages that you can just build out and send out automatically is extremely helpful. Obviously, shameless plug for ABC Trainerize here as an app that's going to help you stay connected with your clients. Having a community, I think, is something that really needs to translate online, and it takes time to build that. So just finding the right people early on to join you and to be a part of your mission really helps you develop that in-person connection that you would otherwise have if you mostly do in person. And then lastly, things like a SWOT analysis. And if any of you have taken business school, looking for things like your strengths or expanding and journaling on those. What are your weaknesses? Doing a market analysis and finding what are the opportunities for you to fit in differently and really differentiate yourself. And then finally, what could be some things that could potentially be a threat to your business. So lots of things that you could do here, but the idea is really simple. You should use these tools as a launch pad and as really a starting point just to get organized with most of the things that you're doing, and then use it to expand on your strategies and get ideas from other people and the best of the internet, right? Like GPT is really an amalgamation of all the best things that are out there on the internet. So know that it might be not specific to you, but it is really good for a starting point.
So if you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss any more of these how-to videos from yours truly. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll be sure to answer. Take care.